Good morning. My name is Rachel Petroselli, President of Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh Foundation, and I'm delighted to welcome you to another session of Raising the Bar. Today, we're joined by members of our Child Life Department at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. And before we begin our program, I just have a few friendly reminders. Please note that your microphone has been muted, and at the bottom of your screen is the chat function that we ask you to submit questions to. There is going to be plenty of time at the latter part of our program that we'd love to be able to address your questions. Additionally, we are recording today's session, and a link will be sent to you via email in the days ahead. We hope that you'll share it with others who you think might find this information of interest. And finally, we are ardent advocates for reducing the spread of COVID-19. We are seated here together, but socially distant with our masks close by. We hope that you too are doing things to keep yourselves and your loved ones safe. So now we'll turn to our program. I'm so excited for us to spend some time talking about our Child Life Department at UPMC Children's. They really are the individuals that infuse fun and have an important and critical role to play in the care of children who come to us for illness or injury. This is a magical team, and the roots of their profession actually stem as far back as the 1920s, when it became evident that catering to the emotional and psychosocial needs of children facing illness or hospitalization had a positive impact on their outcomes. This profession has flourished and is the mainstay of most pediatric hospitals today, including ours. It is also one that relies heavily on the support of our community, on the generosity of many donors, including those of you who are with us today, and we can't thank you enough. Mr. Rogers passed along wisdom from his mother a while back, encouraging us to look for the helpers when we see a challenge, a crisis, or something that scares us. And our Child Life team are definitely members of that group, the helpers. They are the helpers that our children turn to when they're at their scariest moments. And our families are so grateful for the support and care they provide through that medical journey. To give you a little sneak peek of the experience of working with a Child Life and their impact on the care experience in the hospital, we have a brief video to share. Gosh, looking at some of those images, not only are they heartfelt moments in a child's journey at the hospital, but they're also reminders of life before a pandemic. As you can see, a lot of that footage was taken before the pandemic began. So now I'm excited to introduce our guests today. We have Stephanie Colaberardino. Stephanie is the director of our Child Life, Volunteer Services, and Family Resource Center. We also have Corey Antonacci, who is our program coordinator of the Creative and Expressive Arts Therapy. We also refer to it as CIAT. And we have Daniela Ortega Pereza, who is the McCamish Family Child Life Specialist for cardiothoracic surgery and cardiac intensive care. So we'll turn things over to Stephanie to kick us off.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Colaberardino. I'm the Director of Child Life, Volunteer Services, and the Family Resource Center. I was also a Child Life Specialist for 15 years before becoming the Program Director in 2016. I want to thank Rachel for inviting us here today and for the opportunity to talk about the Child Life Department at UPMC Children's. It truly is one of my most favorite topics to talk about. The Child Life Department at UPMC Children's is made up of several support services. First is our Child Life team. This is our Child Life Specialist, Child Life Assistants, and our Special Event and Donation Coordinators. In addition to their direct patient care responsibilities, this team also coordinates programs such as the Hospital School Program, the Mario Lemieux Sibling Center, infant massage instruction for caregivers, and our student programs. The Child Life Specialist Internship Program is accredited through the Association of Child Life Professionals. Students from all over the country send in applications to learn from our team of specialists. Under the umbrella of the Child Life Department is also volunteer services. We have 124 current volunteers who are serving as hospital entrance screeners to keep our hospital safe during this time. The Volunteer Service Department also coordinates one of the most popular programs, Pet Therapy, with over 40 dogs. We have the Family Resource Center, home to Moelis Adopt-A-Book Library, the Family Business Center, and Matt's Makerspace. We are one of the only children's hospitals in the country to have space dedicated to maker and STEAM programming, and this is all with very special thanks to philanthropy. Our Creative and Expressive Arts Therapy team, this is our art therapist, our music therapist, and the CIAT program coordinator, Corey Antonacci, is here with us today, and we'll tell you all about those services in just a bit. Rounding out our team is Dream Big Studio, our brand new closed-circuit TV and radio broadcasting studio. It's currently run by one certified child life specialist and a video producer. Our studio came at the most perfect time when we opened our doors in January, and then the pandemic hit in March. As the world was shutting down, Child Life at UPMC Children's played on through our studio. So how do all of our patients and families get connected to these amazing services? Well, we have Child Life both in the inpatient and outpatient settings. There is one Child Life specialist that is assigned to each inpatient unit. Each inpatient unit can have anywhere between 26 and 38 patients. In our NICU, this number rises to 55. The Child Life Specialist is responsible for meeting and assessing the needs of all of the patients and families on their unit. On any given day, a Child Life Specialist can be found in the playroom facilitating a play activity, teaching a child about a new diagnosis or upcoming test or procedure, practicing coping techniques like we saw in the video, blowing bubbles through an anesthesia mask, or supporting a patient and family through a difficult time. As the Child Life Specialist gets to know their patients, they are better able to connect them to the other services within our department to further support their individual needs. For example, as a Child Life Specialist is working with a patient, they might discover that their patient loves building and making, so they would consult Matt's Makerspace. Or maybe their patient is struggling with pain issues, but we also find out that there's frustrations about being in the hospital because they're missing their chorus concert, and music is what speaks to them. The Child Life Specialist will reach out to music therapy. Just one Child Life intervention takes on average about 45 minutes, some much longer, some can be a bit shorter, but on average that time is about 45 minutes. So let's think about that. If a Child Life Specialist has just 7 of their patients who require the average amount of time, more than half of the unit will go without services that day. The true cost of child life are its people. We need the people to provide the services because our patients deserve our time. Child life cannot be billed through insurance, and the hospital has limitations on its resources. It is truly because of the individuals and foundations that all of this work is possible. I could go on and on about the Child Life Department and all of the services, but there's truly no greater impact than hearing from it directly from a child life specialist. It is my pleasure to introduce to you an amazing child life specialist, Ms. Daniela Ortega Pereza.
Thank you, Steph. Hi, everyone. My name is Dani Ortega. I am the McCamish Family Foundation Child Life Specialist. I was the first foundation-funded specialist, so it is quite a big honor. A little bit of background of a child life specialist, and also about myself. I have been at UPMC Children's for about 2.5 years. I have served in both the epilepsy unit and the cardiac units, both in the cardiac intensive care and acute care units. To become a child life specialist, we are all certified through the Association of Child Life Professionals. To be able to do that, we have to have an undergrad degree in a child life related field. Personally, I have a degree in human development and family sciences. And then I also volunteered a lot, and that prepared me to be able to do a practicum, which was my first hospital experience of shadowing a child life specialist. That was followed by me getting my master's in child life, as most of our department do have master's degree in child life or a related field as well. And the most important is completing our child life internship. I completed my 600-hour internship, which prepared me to be able to be a child life specialist as soon as I stepped into our incredible building. All of those skills that I learned from school prepped me to being faced with the decision of, I have 33 kids in my unit. Who do I go to first? I have to assess, how old is the patient? How are they coping? Do they have any procedures that day? Are they alone? Is the family really struggling that they have to make a decision about whether their child's gonna get a transplant or not? Or they just got told, your child is having heart failure. Those are really hard things, and I have to figure out which child needs me the most each day. As I go about a unit, throughout the unit, I can be in a VAD procedure, dressing change, and that's a ventricular assistive device that's helping the child's heart pump. And those dressing changes happen about twice a week, and they can take anywhere to 30 minutes to an hour. While I'm there, my job is to make sure that this child is coping well. So that is, am I keeping them distracted? And am I creating a safe and trusting environment so that they can get used to the dressing changes and cope well throughout them? And of course, having to do a little bit of play before, during, and after to make sure that the child is in a normalized environment. That's a lot of what we do. We try to normalize the environment in the hospital. It can be quite scary to be there. And we normalize it by being able to provide opportunities to go to the playroom. Our playrooms are medical-free areas, and that is a space where children can express themselves and be safe. I have conversations with kids about their diagnosis if they want to. Sometimes through play, children communicate a lot, so it's important to give them these opportunities. Or you know what? They just really miss playing Legos at home, so we're gonna be playing Legos that day because that's what's most important to that child. It takes a lot of things to be able to do and serve all these patients. I work with volunteers, our pet friends volunteers, music therapists, art therapists, or special event coordinators, because we could be having a patient that's been in the hospital for several months and their birthday's coming up. And we know that it's gonna be her last birthday and she wants to celebrate it Harry Potter style. And we're gonna do everything we can to make sure she has an incredible experience and create wonderful family memories. I can also consult our volunteers. Usually during non-COVID times, there could be a time where a sibling is coming in and someone needs to hang out with that sibling. Right now, I am doing a lot of sibling support virtually, and I'm helping families connect with, like, as a whole, while the patient is at the hospital and the siblings are at home, creating activities and opportunities to make them feel like they are together. That's one of the biggest challenges I have been facing right now, but I am thrilled to be doing. It really does take a team effort to work with all of these wonderful patients. One of the biggest career accomplishments that I've had was when I was in the epilepsy unit. I was approached about providing support in awake craniotomies. Now, awake craniotomies, the thought of it is exciting, and it can be scary for a child, the thought of being awake during surgery. Any kid that you approach, the thought of surgery itself is scary. They're gonna be asleep, and somehow their body's gonna be fixed while they're under anesthesia. But now their bodies are being fixed while they're awake, their brain. So it is my job to provide support to these patients and families. I reach out to them, figure out what questions they have, what worries do they have, and I inform them along with the medical team to give them the best answers. And I also try to prepare them as best as possible. That means, what are they going to see? What does the OR look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? All those things are the tiny little things that change the experience for the patients. Now they feel prepared. Prior to COVID, we were also able to do tours, so I could bring the family and show them the same-day surgery area, show them where they're going to be. Right now, I do that via prep book, and we can send pictures of what they're going to experience. But the most important aspect of this kind of amazing surgery that we've been able to do is creating the individualized coping plans. No child's the same. They have different interests. So it is getting to know the patient and what do they like? Do they like music? Great. We've had karaoke parties in the OR. Do they like talking about cars? That's all we can do while they're in there. And I think it's really special that my job in that OR for that patient is just to be focused on them and to be able to meet their needs. Are they cold? I have a blanket for you. Do you need a little bit extra support in your head? I have a pillow for you. You want me to keep you distracted throughout the whole process while the doctors are working? That's it. That's my job. I am there just solely for the patient. And with all the patients that we've worked with, they either, one, don't remember being awake because anesthesia does have that effect sometimes, or when they have remembered, they remembered it as a positive experience. And that's the biggest thing that I can ask for, that they have had a positive experience and that they're not scared about it. They know that they've faced something incredible and they've overcome it. And while I'm in the OR doing all of those incredible things, I have an even better, more incredible team supporting me with the other patients that I'm not able to see. That could be that music therapy is working with a patient because they need help with pain control, or it could be the art therapist with a patient that needs help with self-expression. So it is my honor to introduce Corey Antonacci, who is the program coordinator for the SIAT team.
Thank you so much, Danny. To hear Stephanie speak from the director's perspective about our department as a whole and what we do to support children and their families, and then to hear about your direct work as the cardiac child life specialist, I have to share that just last week, Danny and I had the opportunity to co-treat with a small 1-year-old patient who found their way to the hospital for an ultrasound and echocardiogram. And through our non-pharmacological intervention, this patient was able to successfully get through the tests and procedures, thanks to Danny's caring heart and the work of music therapy. My name is Corey Antonacci, and I have the real privilege and honor to serve as the Creative and Expressive Arts Therapies Program Coordinator at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. I work with a small but very mighty team of 6 incredible women, professionals who come to work each day on fire, excited to support a child through the best days and through the worst. My team is comprised of board-certified art therapists and board-certified music therapists. In addition to their master's level training, all of our team are professional artists. They're professional musicians. They're clinical therapists, licensed professional counselors. They're the dreamers. They're the creators. But most importantly, we are the healers of Children's Hospital. We are so fortunate to work for a world-class institution with the best physicians, nursing, and medical staff. But in addition to all of that, they are working to treat the child's body. It is my team, the creative arts team, who is working to treat the heart and the soul. And what a privilege and gift it is to do each and every day. Children's Hospital is a 313-bed inpatient medical facility. The creative arts team serves all 313 beds. There is not a division of medicine who does not summon the creative arts team for their services. From adolescent medicine to hematology oncology, solid organ transplant, trauma, and the intensive care units, we are called frequently, and we are honored to be called, but it certainly makes the days challenging. On a given day, a creative arts therapist can see anywhere between 6 to 10 patients a day. But that means each day, the 6 of us on the creative arts team look down our list of 25 patients and make very difficult decisions each morning. Who needs us the most? Who could use our services? When the truth is, every child on the list and every child in all 313 beds could use our support. But it's often answered by who is experiencing bereavement. Who might the music therapist go be able to record the patient's heartbeat during final moments to create a heartbeat recording and legacy piece? It may be who can the art therapist see who has experienced a severe medical trauma and the child does not want to talk about what happened with any professionals, but the art therapist, with their warm, inviting clinical training, personality, and skills, meets the child with art materials to process through what happened without having to say a word to start. A day in the life of a creative arts therapist never looks the same. And to be honest, that's what makes me love my job the most. I have no idea what I'm in store for. On one day, on a Monday, I could walk in and be dancing the hokey pokey with a patient for the first time they've gotten out of bed. 2 days later on Wednesday, that same child could be so sick from the side effects of chemotherapy that they cannot lift their head off the pillow. My goals have now switched to provide music-assisted relaxation and to help that child aid in pain management through non-pharmacological interventions. Creative arts therapists work to meet the medical, the social, emotional, psychosocial goals, and physiological goals of our patients at Children's Hospital. That could be the music therapist working in the NICU, our neonatal intensive care unit, our PICU, or cardiac intensive care unit, to lower a patient's heart rate, to lower their respiratory rate, and to increase their oxygen saturation levels, all through the use of music therapy intervention. It could be the art therapist working with the patient to process through a new diagnosis when they have no desire to talk about it, and I wouldn't either. But the art therapist brings in clay, and they mold together a creation or a piece to process, what does my pain feel like? What does it look like through the art-making process? Each and every day is different. Each and every day is filled with joys. It's filled with sorrows, difficulties, challenges, and we certainly celebrate many, many successes. But no matter what the case is, the goal of a creative arts therapist, an art or music therapist, is to walk side by side with the patient and hold their hand through the best days and through the worst, and to help them heal, cope, and tell their story through creative arts, music and therapy, art interventions. And it's such a gift and privilege to be able to provide that service. Back in 2003, the very first creative arts therapist was hired at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, a music therapist who would later become my lifelong mentor. She was brought to Children's Hospital and supported through a very generous grant by the Jack Buncher Foundation. From that day until today, in 2020, the Jack Buncher Foundation continues to provide support to the music therapy program, making it what it is. Philanthropy has been the key to success in growing, sustaining, and creating the Creative Arts Therapies program and all of our child life programs at UPMC Children's, as they are not reimbursable by insurance. Back in 2015, it was my first year at Children's Hospital. I was hired as the music therapist to replace my mentor I mentioned, the first music therapist, and what an honor it was. I was having the best time getting my feet wet as a new clinician in a medical children's hospital after years in adult facilities. I'll never forget the day I received an email from the director of the Children's Hospital Foundation stating, in 2016, we are about to embark on a journey that will be called the Masterpiece of Hope campaign. This campaign will set out to raise the funds through philanthropy to build dedicated spaces solely for the Creative Arts Therapies program and Child Life Department at Children's Hospital. To this day, this is by far my greatest accomplishment, to be a part of it as a professional and to experience the benefits and walk with the children as they experience these spaces each and every day at UPMC Children's. I am so proud and honored to share that over $8 million has been raised to support the Child Life and Creative Arts Therapies program through the Masterpiece of Hope campaign. Each morning I come to work, I keep photos of patients who have inspired me as a reminder of why I'm there and to never lose sight of what my goal is and what I'm doing. I also keep a small picture of Fred Rogers, who grew up in the same hometown as I did. Fred Rogers is one of my muses as a music therapist, as he talks about the piano and how children can bang the piano to get their frustrations out or to play a light melody and sing, "It's You I Like." Fred Rogers channeled what a music therapist is, or a creative arts therapist, to use these processes to help children in any way they can as they face the most difficult challenges of their life through hospitalization. Fred Rogers talks about love in action, and I am overwhelmed with the love in action as I think about our donors and what philanthropy has done and what it has built. I am so pleased and proud to share with you what has come from the Masterpiece of Hope campaign. The Nora Kaufman Center for Creative Arts Therapies, as you'll see on your screen, is a safe haven where children come to express themselves, to paint, to dance, to create, to do pottery, to play a new instrument, anything where we can help them to tell their story. They step across the threshold and they've escaped hospitalization, even if for an hour. I'm so pleased to share that over 700 patients and families have experienced the Nora Kaufman Center for Creative Arts Therapy since its opening in September 2019. Thanks to the beautiful and generous hearts of our donors. We now have a full-service music therapy room, fully soundproof, where children can come, create, be part of a band, record an album. Our first ever art therapy studio, where a patient can come create in a safe environment and express their most vulnerable feelings and thoughts about their new diagnosis, one-on-one with their art therapist. As you proceed through the final double doors of the Nora Kaufman Center, you find the Creation Station, our flagship space of the CIOT Hub. Here is the Creative Writing Corner, where children can write, create poetry, stories, any way that they can creatively express themselves about their experience. Our full-service Pottery Nook, where we have both an adaptive and a traditional potter's wheel, where our patients have come down to create on the wheel through clay and hand building. They've even made earrings through polymer clay with their art therapists. You'll find our group space, where currently with COVID restrictions, we are unable to host groups for patient safety and infection prevention. But outside of COVID restrictions, music, art, STEAM groups, all happening where we can bring children together to tell their stories and to channel what they may be going through. Last but certainly not least, tucked in the back of the Creation Station, our full-service theater. A sound system is installed inside the ceiling. There are 4 handheld mics, lapels. As you can see, we certainly have dance parties quite a bit. Karaoke parties are also not uncommon in our theater. Each and every day is a gift in the Creative Arts Center. The second piece that has come from the Masterpiece of Hope campaign, Dream Big Studio, as Stephanie has mentioned earlier, our full-circuit, closed caption broadcasting studio, where radio and video and TV productions come out every single day. I love when I'm walking through the halls as a music therapist to see patients and 1 o'clock bingo has just ended. Here comes the prize cart. And yes, every patient is a winner at Children's Hospital. They simply call from the phone in their room and they're able to come, and we bring the prizes right to their door. Just last week, we made snickerdoodle cookies, which was such a hit for our patients to see and experience, even during hospitalization. The third and final piece that has come from the Masterpiece of Hope campaign, Matt's Maker Space, a beautiful, large, and full of light, dedicated STEAM program space. We are one of the only hospitals in the children's hospital realm in the country that hosts a space for STEAM programming. To walk by and see a child create their favorite cartoon character in the 3D printer and to take the figure home is like something I've never seen. Each and every day is such a gift to experience this with my team, the Greater Child Life Department. And I can tell you that every single day of my life, I walk through the doors of Children's. I say thank you to myself. Thank you that it's me who gets to come and provide the support to these children. It is an honor that I will never be able to articulate, but I can tell you nobody on this team takes this work for granted. And it's through philanthropy and that generous support that we're able to be there to hold these patients' hands, to tell their stories, to help them create a legacy, to cope, and to heal. I'd like to share with you that I recently thought about a young lady I worked with at Children's. She's 14 years old, full of spunk, light, and life. I worked with this child after she received a multivisceral transplant, meaning she had 5 organs transplanted. She found herself in our pediatric intensive care unit for over 90 days, healing after transplant. Myself and one of the art therapists had the pleasure to work with her one-on-one each as her art and music therapist. Each day, we were there as she struggled with immense pain. As she got out of bed the first time, the best and the worst days, we walked side by side. We created pieces of art to help her tell her story, and we created music to help her tell her story. We watched as her friends were going to school dances, doing all the things a child typically does when they are not facing hospitalization. But we were there at the bedside, helping her through this experience that brought her to Children's Hospital. I fondly remember on the day she was finally being discharged, truly one of the best days of my career. Her mother pulled myself and her art therapist aside. And with tears in her eyes, her mother looked at us and said, "The transplant kept her body alive, but it was music therapy and art therapy that saved my child's life." On that day of discharge, this young lady, one of my warriors and heroes, left me with a beautiful parting gift. She gave me this piece of art that symbolizes her post-op transplant. It is a mandala, a piece of art she created with her art therapist filled with intricate doodles and drawings that helped to refocus her during her most difficult moments of hospitalization. The tail of the 8th note does not have the traditional spin as my musician friends know, but instead it's the transplant symbol for organs, and it's green, just as the transplant organ symbol is. She then added a quote. We did a lot of lyric analysis in music therapy, and this is from one of her favorite bands, Paramore, and she selected the lyric, "Gotta keep me going," and let me know the reason she chose this is music and art is what kept her going during hospitalization. I am so honored to serve as a member of the Child Life Department and the Creative and Expressive Arts Therapist Program Coordinator. Our jobs are made possible through the generous support of community donors, and I hope that you know your support directly reaches our patients and families as we help them to heal, cope, and create. Thank you, Rachel, for having us today.
Thank you all. I mean, truly, you really help captivate our attention to help us understand what it is that you do each day, how you help these kids when they're at their scaredest, and parents, the support that just by your work with children and helping to alleviate their burden of fear, you're alleviating the burden of fear that parents have too in those situations. And what a gift that is in those moments. I truly thank you on behalf of every parent, myself included, for what you do. We have questions coming in, and I just want to remind our audience that you should use the chat function at the bottom of your screen to submit your questions. We do have time to address them. And while you're thinking of those questions, I know that this group here has amassed quite a fan base. And we have some of those fans. They have submitted some questions that we're going to turn to right now. And the first one coming in, I think, is coming from Rosie. Let's hear what Rosie has to say.
Hi, my name is Rosie. I'm 6 years old. Why you choose Children's Hospital?
Wow, Rosie, thank you for the awesome question. So why did I choose Children's Hospital? Rosie, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not choose Children's Hospital, but rather Children's Hospital chose me. When I was doing my undergraduate training as a music therapist, I had my heart set on working with adults in a hospital setting. And I ended up doing one of my clinical rotations at the old Children's Hospital back in Oakland. And when I stepped across the door, Rosie, a feeling came over me, and I knew right then and there that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Several years later, I found myself as a music therapist back in Children's Hospital. After I worked very hard and tirelessly, I promised myself that day I left on my internship, I will be back. And I found my way back. And I do not plan on looking back at this point. And I'm so happy and honored to be right where I am at UPMC Children's. Great question.
Thank you, Corey. I think our next question is coming from Leo.
What inspired you to become a child life specialist?
Thanks for the question, Leo. For me, when I was in college, I worked at a camp for kids with illnesses, disabilities, and life challenges, and I fell in love with it. Just being able to see how these kids have overcome so much, and how they're a normal kid at camp, and how much they have overcome. And what inspired me is I want to be on the other side. I want to be there at the beginning of it all, at the beginning of that journey. I want to see and help them when they come through the hospital and go through that journey, because I know that they can overcome so much. Children are so resilient. And you guys keep showing me that every single day.
Great answer, Danny. And now one from Lowen. Let's see what Lowen has to say.
Lowen, I'm 4. What's your favorite activity?
Oh, what's my favorite activity? There are so many. There's so many great activities that come out of Children's Hospital. Now, when I was a child life specialist, my favorite activity and go-to was the volcano. I loved constructing the volcano out of Play-Doh with my patients and then watching it erupt together. But now, in my position now, I get to listen to all the other child life specialists share the activities they do on their units, like splatter paint for self-expression. And now we take it even a step further, and I get excited to see those activities play out on Dream Big Studio so that the whole hospital can enjoy the special activities. Just the other day, I was walking by and saw our international department manager hosting a bilingual bingo game. So that was really fun and exciting to see.
Excellent. And now I know our next question is from Jimmy, who can't stop feeling the music.
What has been the best day on the job? Woo-hoo, yeah.
Oh, Jimmy, you speak to my heart with your enthusiasm and excitement. What has been the best day on the job? Goodness, Jimmy, any day spent with you has truly been the best day on the job. I think a career highlight for me was your birthday. You insisted on having your birthday at Children's Hospital in the music therapy room because it meant that much to you. We sang Raspberry Beret, we sang Little Red Corvette, we did Whitney Houston, we sang, we moved, we did everything celebrating you. And to me, that's what it's all about. Another career highlight for me was when you unfortunately broke your leg and you found your way to Children's Hospital. And I won't forget the day that the physical therapist was ready to get you out of bed for the first time to start your activities and your gait training. But you did not want to get out of bed, and I'm sure it's due to the pain that you were feeling in your leg. So myself and Miss Nicole from Music Therapy came to the bedside. We had the physical therapist stand you up, and for the first time, you walked from your bed all the way to the sunroom as we sang Justin Timberlake, Can't Stop the Feeling. Definitely one of the best days on the job. Thanks for the question, Jimmy.
And our last question from your fan base comes from Teresa.
Hi, my name is Teresa Stacy. I am 7, almost about to be 8, and I have a question for you. What is your favorite part about working with kids?
Thanks so much for the incredible question. I think I have to say, just seeing how silly, honest, and resilient children are. You guys keep showing me that every day. One of the patients that I had, she was in the hospital for about 9 months waiting for a heart. And just the whole process of being able to play with her and how much she overcame and she kept her spirit up was truly amazing. This patient then went to CHRU, our inpatient rehab unit, and she has been thriving there. She went from not being able to leave her bed for those 9 months, and now she is wheeling down the hallways and is wanting to say hi to everybody. She has become incredibly social. So just seeing that kind of spirit is the best thing that I love about working with kids.
You guys did such a great job answering those tough questions. But it did give our audience a chance to think of their own questions and submit them using that chat function. So I'm going to actually kick things off with a question that was in the queue. And this one I'm going to direct to Steph. Stephanie, how does our Child Life Department compare to other hospitals?
Sure. So our Child Life Department, if I'm comparing them to other children's hospitals our size, is a bit smaller. The Association of Child Life Professionals recommends a ratio of 15 patients to 1 child life specialist. At UPMC Children's, we operate daily more of a ratio to 28 patients to 1 child life specialist.
Excellent, thank you. And I see another question has come in from our audience. What is your favorite activity to calm patients? Who wants to take a stab at that one?
Sorry, Corey.
Everybody wants to.
How about you, Danny?
It depends on the age. I do work with a lot of infants right now. So the best thing is just to pick them up, hold them, and sing a little bit to them. I am no music therapist, and my voice is not quite up to your standards, Corey, but it really does help. For some of our older patients, I really like to do breathing exercises, but I try to tailor it a little bit to the patients. Sometimes when they're a little bit worked up, I might bring in what I call the marshmallow shooter. It's like a little bit of like a flute, and I put in pom-poms, and I just ask them to blow out the pom-pom as hard as they can to like release some tension, and then we just slowly work in deep breathing to help them calm down.
Great. And let me see, who would want to answer this? Who was your most memorable patient? Oh, now they're asking you to pick one. How can you pick?
It is incredibly difficult to pick. Every patient truly has left an imprint on my heart. But I will tell you that there is a patient that changed the entire experience for me. And she was the most resilient, kind, spunky child I have ever met. And she unfortunately did not make it through her medical journey and experience. But this child left such an imprint on my heart to remind me of the simple things in life and the joy you find in music. She would call my phone every morning to make sure that I scheduled music therapy 5 days a week, and she would not let me forget it. I remember so many experiences, but one being that she had, we'll say, borrowed her mother's credit card and she ordered me a bracelet off of Amazon, and she was so excited to give me the bracelet. And when I opened it up, it was a charm bracelet that had different instruments all around it, but written across the bracelet was the phrase, "Music is what feelings sound like." And I said, "What made you pick this for me?" Of course, I was so honored and touched, and she said, "This is what music therapy is all about. Music is what my feelings sound like when I'm having really, really hard days here." She got it in that moment. And to me, that patient will forever leave an imprint on my heart and will be in my mind to remind me of why I come to work every single day.
Thanks for sharing that, Corey. We've kept it pretty light, but there are times when things are pretty tough at the hospital. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, clearly. And I wondered maybe, Danny, you could share real briefly a situation, a story where it was maybe one of your tougher days.
Yeah. One of the toughest days was actually a few months ago. This patient flew in from California to this hospital for her last chance. It was the last chance to see if she was going to be able to get a heart and lung transplant. She had an incredible energy, but her body and her condition took a toll on her. And the family had to make the hard decision to withdraw care. That day, I also had to help her brother understand what was going on, having to tell him that his sister was no longer going to be here and what that meant. Later that day, it was being there to provide support to the brother while they withdrew care and the whole family was there together. It was an honor and privilege to have been a part of that experience. Emotionally, it is very tough to be able to provide that support and also help create legacy moments and memories for these families. So for a lot of our end-of-life cases, like we do things like handprint art. I know with music therapy, we work and we do heartbeat recordings, just so that the family has something tangible later on when they're ready for it.
Thank you, Danny, and thank you for finding your courage and your strength in those moments too. And Corey, do you have anything to add? Do you have an example you want to share?
I would just say that, through those incredibly difficult moments, I will not know what that feels like. I am not that family, I'm not that child, but truly the honor to be a part of that process is indescribable. It's incredibly humbling, and it's something that when I think about the fact that we are the group, the 38 of us who get to be there for those really, really difficult moments, but also those joyous moments, is a gift that I will never be able to describe. But I'm very glad that it's me and that it's us.
Thank you. I'm sure that you're faced with the question, I don't know how you do that every day. I don't know how you can work with sick kids. And it is both in the joy and in the hardships that you, and the connections you're able to make, that you know that you're an important person, an important force in their way forward, wherever that takes them. And so it's really remarkable what you do. Stephanie, I'm going to direct our final question to you. If there were one charitable investment that could transform child life today, what would that be? With all the great space you have to work with all the bells and whistles and tools you have in the toolbox, and phenomenal people, what would you change? What would you accomplish?
Wow, great question. What really the thing would have the biggest impact on us would be sponsoring positions, like the McCamish gift for Danny's position. That has helped tremendously. Helping us with endowments. At UPMC Children's, we strive for a culture of always, not a culture of sometimes. So if patients and families have come to our facility and have had the experience with our child life specialist and our music and our art therapist, we want them to rest assured that if they find their way back to us, that they're going to have that service each and every time. And it reminds me of a story that a mother told me very early on in my career. We were sitting there together one day and she says, I don't know if enough people talk about how it feels like to be a caregiver on this side of the door and what it feels like to hear the knock. And when someone comes in your child's room, she said, it's almost like taking your breath away. You don't know what news is going to be delivered. But when she saw a child life specialist or her music therapist, she exhaled. I want all of our families to be able to exhale. So a gift of sponsoring a position like the McCamish gift would have the biggest impact for us to be able to offer that to all of our families.
Thank you, Stephanie. That is our shared goal. It's the hard work that I know my colleagues at the foundation are happy to share with donors and individuals and businesses that want to help you be successful in that way. I want to be mindful of your time today as we're coming to a close with our program, and just share a couple final thoughts. One, UPMC Children's is recognized by U.S. News and World Report as a top 10 children's hospital in the country. We're able to provide the best research, the best care and experience at UPMC Children's because we have support from donors like many of you who are with us today and those across our community and well beyond our region. We rely on that support and we put it to good use, evidenced by the testimonials that our guests here shared today. If any of this resonated with you, and you're not yet working with someone at Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh Foundation, I encourage you to talk with my colleague, Mara White. Her contact information is on your screen today. Mara and anyone at the foundation would be happy to talk with you about how you can make a difference in a child's life by helping to support our Child Life program. And finally, I want to wish you and members of your family well. Be safe. Take precautions, stop the spread of COVID-19, and enjoy a very happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for your support.